Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast. This is Bruce Hutchin, host and executive producer. Each week you will hear tips, techniques, strategies, and personal stories from some of the best and funniest whitetail hunters in North America. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you do, tell a friend on social media. If not, tell me and I'll make it better. Thanks for listening, folks. This is Whitetail Rendezvous, episode number 407. Hey, we're heading out to New York State, upstate New York, and we're going to meet up with Pat Alvarez. Now, Pat is the founder of Bowhunter Brotherhood. Bowhunter Brotherhood had its roots because Pat got hurt. He's a professional soccer player in Spain, and he got hurt. And so he came back home and decided, what is he going to do? And so he started bow hunting. But from that, Bowhunter Brotherhood apparel line was created. Yes, he's got a pro staff throughout the United States, and a lot of his team are wearing Bowhunter Brotherhood. And with that, Pat started and figured out that he could really impact the lives of other people through his company, Bowhunter Brotherhood. So sit back, relax, and listen to the story of Pat Alvarez and the birth of Bowhunter Brotherhood. Welcome, folks, and this is Bruce Hutchin, the host and executive producer of Whitetail Rendezvous. And I'm with Patrick Alvarez today, and he is the founder of Bowhunter Brotherhood. And we're going to talk about ibex hunting, whitetail hunting. We're going to talk about Bowhunter Brotherhood, and also we're going to talk about the hunting tradition and what you and I can do to get more people involved. Patrick, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's exciting, and we've been jumping through some hoops to get together, and I just thank you with your busy schedule you've allowed us. Hey, why don't you give the folks some background information about who Patrick Alvarez is and what the heck you're doing?
Well, where to start? I mean, I'm just a regular guy that loves bow hunting that kind of turned it into something I do every day. And pretty much, my dad always told me as a kid, if you wake up every day doing something you love, you're not going to be having a miserable day. You're going to have a good day. Even a bad day is a good day. So I'm a former professional soccer player. I still play semi-professional. I coach and train a lot of kids. I'm big into guiding kids into becoming a productive and a good role model adult and molding them into great people. As long as on top of that, I'm training them into becoming a great player in their trade as well. And I always grew up. My dad grew me up around hunting and traditions and family. And my dad's from Spain, so Spain comes from a very background into in hunting small game and stuff like that. But we live in New York, and upstate New York turned into bow hunting and whitetail, and just blossomed into a wonderful thing that I call bow hunting, and led to Bowhunter Brotherhood, which is now my main passion along with soccer. So I would say I love them both equally, and if I had to pick, bow hunting's a lifetime, soccer is during my youth. So both of them are a blessing. So I got hunting for the rest of my life, so I'm good for that.
Well, that's great. And in the warm up, we talked about you're a playmaker on the pitch, and so for thousands and thousands of people who listen to the show, why don't you just tell a little bit about why soccer has helped you excel in other things in your life?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, it really led to how I work with others, mainly how I lead others, and I'm a playmaker. I can score goals. Coaches want me to continue to score goals, but for me, no, I love sharing that ball. So finding a teammate on a tough angle is just, my favorite thing, and having them finish the play is just, that is the beauty, in soccer, there's so many different art forms, but for me, passing the ball is my favorite, and beating a player and then figuring out how to get your teammate that ball to score. For me, that's what I love to do in soccer. So yeah, I play center, attack, and mid, and you have to be aggressive. You have to be a go-getter. You have to be, know how to think about 5 to 10 things at once. This defender's trying to steal the ball. You have to figure out how to beat that defender while doing every touch perfect and finding that angle to find your teammate, and then worrying about who's coming on to steal the ball from behind you. There's a lot of things that are elements that are going on. So me multitasking in my everyday life, soccer has really molded me into an all around person, whether I'm working in a a team environment, how to figure out a marketing strategy for my company, or whether or not I'm doing something and I need to have quick thinking process and figure out something on the job. So it definitely molded me into a well-rounded person in my everyday life.
Well, it sounds like you're hunting mature bucks when you talk about, you get an attack from this side, you have to do 10 things at once. And we both know that it's really challenging to hunt mature bucks because you have to have everything lined up to close the deal. So let's roll right into that. It's a great segue into hunting whitetails. And why do you find them challenging?
They're challenging, let alone without a camera. Then they're let alone with a bow. They're challenging. They're challenging across the board. When you throw a camera in there, then you got to worry about getting them on. You're not just hunting with your bow at that point. You're hunting with a camera. So on my end, I got into bow hunting, and my first season, I shot 2 bucks and 1 doe, and everybody was like, "Wow, you did amazing." But that wasn't it for me. I'm always trying to one up my game, and then now you have get them in frame and get the kill shot on frame. It's just you're talking about putting all odds against you. Your chances are you're coming up empty-handed, more likely than none. So bow hunting it's just an art, and that's why I kind of love it. Just hand in hand like soccer. To score a free kick, you have to practice repetition, form, technique, everything, and keep doing it in muscle memory to get that shot perfectly. And arch soccer came oddly very not very easy for me, but I loved it. So if you love something, it came easy. Archery was not. If I go to a competition, I'm not number one or number two like in soccer. So in archery, it's challenging me in a different aspect, and it's that mental aspect. And that's what I love about bow hunting and archery. It's not just a athletic game; it's a mental game. It's a chess match, and I love that every bit about it. So hunting mature bucks, you have to worry about, like you said, 5 or 6 different elements: the wind change, your scent control, your stand position. It's a chess match, man. I love every part about it.
So what's your most challenging thing when you're hunting mature buck? And mature bucks are 4.5 years old or older in my mind. Some places in the country, I know in Pennsylvania, 2.5, 3.5 year old deer.
Yeah,
If you don't take them, somebody else is going to be, you know, going to be shooting them. That's just the way it is. So in different locales, so everybody's mature buck age class is a little bit different. But when you think of
right.
mature buck, what's your biggest challenge?
For me and where I'm hunting, where I grew up hunting is actually right where I'm at right now. I'm on the top of a mountain, and I'm fortunate to run across the street and have property. My neighbors allow me to hunt, so I would say it's definitely scent control. Where I hunt, there is no wind direction. The wind's swirling on top of the mountain. So you could go into stand. Oh, I'm going to go in this spot. The wind's going to be going this way. You get to the stand, and every 15 seconds, the wind's changing up, going left, right, up. And, it's just, you can't really strategize by playing the wind. So what I had to learn how to do was have my scent control as on point as possible, because it didn't matter what wind channel I was going to play. I had to play that I'm going to be scentless going into that woods, and hopefully this mature buck does not smell me. And on the mountain, you're getting a lot of wild card bucks. You might get a buck here and there on camera. If you're hunting on top of a mountain, they're taking different corridors, different ravines, different ridges. To pattern these bucks is the hardest thing. That was the hardest thing for me to do, is to figure out which pattern they could be taking, which route they're taking back to their bedding area. And to do that on a mountain, that there's 12 to 15 different paths they could take, all within 40 to 60 yards, that could change every shot. They could drop down into a ravine and you can no longer have a shot. That was the most challenging thing for me, is to pattern them. And after that is scent control, because their noses, they're so smart. And man, they're you know what it is, like you said, mature bucks. You're talking about 4.5 year olds. Our situation's kind of like Pennsylvania, 2.5, 3.5. But on the mountain, you're getting bucks that live in these little 2 acre plots their whole life, and then you find those wild card bucks that are like 5 years old. And I call them wild card bucks because you never know what you're going to get. It's a wild card. It could be a 6 year old, or it could be a beautiful 3 year old, and you never seen them on camera ever in your life, and then all of a sudden, boom, blink of an eye, they're there. So, but patterning the bucks is probably the hardest thing that I have to worry about each season. No food
Now
plots up here.
let's talk about Right. Are you up by Whiteface Mountain? Is that kind of where you're up by?
I'm an hour and a half north of New York City, so I'm like right where the suburbs turns into farmland. So I'm like, you could be hunting in between houses, or you could be hunting on 300-acre farms. But I'm fortunate to be on the top of a mountain that all below the mountain are farmland. So the bucks travel up during the rut, and they bed up there, but they go back down into the farm at night. So I kind of catch them transiting from the top of the mountain to the bottom of the mountain. So I'm like an hour south of the Catskills, an hour and a half north of New York City.
Because I grew up in Massapequa, Long Island. My sister went to New Paltz,
Oh,
um,
oh
up
wow,
in and
right there,
yeah,
east.
that's where she went to college and a long time ago. I headed out to
Right,
Wisconsin and never looked back. They got a
right,
few
right.
deer
My
in
girlfriend's from
Wisconsin.
Mineola. Yeah,
Oh
it's
wow.
funny. The biggest bucks are in Long Island, out east in New
Well,
York.
like I mentioned to you earlier, I was on John Sloan's interviews with Hunt Masters, and he he's he just shot what he called the swamp donkey. 5.5 year old
Yeah.
buck, just incredible. He got it in Nassau, Suffolk County, of Long Island,
Yep. Yep.
and suburban
The
hunting.
biggest
I mean,
bucks in New York. Yep.
it's suburban hunting, so that's not where you're at. So you mentioned two things. You mentioned wild card bucks, scent control, and patterning. So how do you, zero in or build your hit list?
Well, we're fortunate to be in an age where technology is through the roof. I mean, if you compare hunters from 30 years ago to hunters till now, you have trail cameras now. You have every tool in your favor to become a very successful hunter, and yet you still come up empty-handed, which shows how intelligent these bucks are. I mean, I use trail cameras now, but before I use trail cameras, I'll start off there because that's the basics of hunting. That's what my dad showed me. You're looking for those signs in the woods where trail cameras can't tell you that. Trail cameras are telling you when deer are passing by that specific spot, that specific moment. You still have to be able to go into the woods and do eye and you got to put that footwork in there, and also that eye. You have to have that eye to see where those deer are traveling the most. What I do is during the rut, a lot of people during early season they're looking for the bucks. I don't look for the bucks really. I'm looking for the most highest traffic zone possible with does. So when it comes pre-rut and they're scent checking, I know that they're bound to just scent check through that area just to find a hot doe or just to start spreading their testosterone around areas. So I try to find the spot where the most traffic is coming through. So when I'm in there late October, early November, that's my favorite time to hunt is the pre-rut because I know on the ridges, the bucks are gonna be riding those ridges and just riding those shelves until they find this and they're just scent checking that area. And if I know there's like 10 to 15 does passing by there, let's do the odds. The odds are that buck knows that these does are passing through there himself. So he's gonna scent check that during early November. And during the rut, it's a random. You don't know where they're going. There is no pattern during the rut. The best thing you can do is go where all the does are and hopefully they pass by. But that's what I like to do for pattern them. If I see that there's rubs from there in the past, if there's a lot of scrapes in that area, there's a lot of traffic in that area, I will sit there in a spot early season and I'll just observe. I wouldn't even pick up the bow probably the entire October, and I would just observe that area and see what kind of deer are passing through there, what mature does, and if a decent buck passes by, obviously I'm going to take it, but I do a lot of scouting in the stand. I enjoy it. I love watching deer walk underneath me, and I know that my scent control is on point for when the rut comes and when that pre-rut's coming, and I know that that mature buck will, I will have the edge on him. So pretty much the early October is just testing the waters and observing from the tree stand because that's the best scouting is during the season actually hunting. So I figure out what I have to do from there. From okay, I need to change my stand 40 yards closer to that trail, or I need to do some trimming there. I didn't do it and I didn't do enough in the preseason. You know, those are the best scouting tips. Is when you're in that stand, take mental notes. Those deer are taking that different turn. I thought they would be taking this trail. They're not taking that trail. Maybe you need to make an adjustment, and those little things that add up when that buck comes around, you're you're already mentally prepared to take that shot. So I do all my scouting and I get prepared for that moment all even through the season.
Yeah, thanks for that. And you talking about using your stand, for scouting and scouting all October. I was thinking you got the ridges and then they come down to the bottoms, for the farm. Do you ever set up in long distance scout just those fields and see who comes out at night?
I do. I used to, but you know what? Like I call that the gun hunter strategy. It's good to see what's passing by, but it's like me and my buddy that's a pro shooter, Chris Abrahamson. I always got to throw his name out there because the guy's just wonderful to me. So I always like to name drop for him. But he does so much for me. So we always make fun of our friends. We're just making fun of him. He'd be like, "Oh, I saw 200 deer today." But he'll say, "How many did you have in bow range?" Those guys are hunting with a bow. I like to be up close as close as I can. So if I could get within 10 yards to a doe, that's a successful hunt to me. I didn't even pull back my bow or pick it up. I like to find the closest path as possible and try to find that. And I hunt a lot of pinch points. That's my biggest thing. I That's where I should probably track back. I try to find those points where you would say you would sit back and watch them come out of the field. I will try to find that spot where they clump and they funnel into each other, and I would sit right on top of that spot and just watch them all walk by because I know those pinch points are making them all congest up and take the same corridor out of the farms, and they're going back up on top of the ravines to bed up and during the day and sit up there because when they come out of there at night, you're talking about 4 o'clock in the morning. Now you have to figure out, are you too close to the farm or to their food source? Because now you hear them walking underneath your stand in the dark, or you could be spooking them right when you get into your stand. So I like to sit back another 45 minutes, I call it 45 minutes for them to get to me during the daytime because now it's all timing. Now, if it's too dark to catch for me, I have to get it on camera. So I have to set up my stand a 45-minute trail back to the pinch point where they're going to come into me when it hits like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm catching them just going back into their bed. So it's that all that strategy is depending on what type of hunting you like. I hunt pinch points all day. That's no matter what. I rarely hunt in the middle of the timber in random spots. You're talking about just open woods. You're looking for a needle in a haystack at that point.
Thanks for sharing that. I'm just kind of visualizing they're coming out of the bottoms of the farm where they're feeding, and then they take different trails and hit different ridges or benches, and then go up to the bedding area. How close to the bedding area are you hunting normally?
Well, I like to hunt within eyesight. So normally early season that would be like 50, 60 yards. So I will be able to be I'm pretty close to their bedding area. Now you have to know whether what kind of bedding area it is. Do they like to bed in there at night? Do they you don't want to be kicking them up out of their bed at the same time. But all my entrances and exits to my tree stands are avoiding the bedding areas. I'm not even crisscrossing their path. So I'm not leaving any scent behind. So if they're going to walk, excuse me, if they're going to walk, wake up in the morning, or they're going to get off their bed and they're going to take a path, they're not catching my scent. So that's another thing that people need to realize. Sometimes taking the longer path in the morning to your tree stand is the smarter path because whatever scent you leave behind, and I always bring in a cameraman, so there's two scents. For example, my cameraman forgot his harness and he had to go all the way back and grab his harness. Wanted to take the shorter path to get back to the tree stand. And that morning, half an hour later, the does walked right into that where he took the path in because he just wanted to get into the tree stand before daylight. They walked right into his path. They picked up his scent and they were gone. And there was a buck behind him. I couldn't see how big the buck was because he was in the thicket. So those little things on taking a 10-minute longer path or a 10-minute longer walk to avoid spooking any deer, or your exit is taking the hardest path out because you're not trying to spook any deer leaving scent or disturbing the area at all. So your entrance and exit is very important because what you're leaving behind, we all know mature bucks move mostly at night. So whatever scent you're leaving behind at night when you're walking out of your tree stand, they're not dumb. They pick up that scent. They're like, all right, I'm not taking that path the next day. And then they change their whole pattern up again. And now you're trying to do your homework all over again. So those little things that you leave behind, even checking trail cameras, I do the same thing. I try to get in there as less as I can each time and leave the least scent as possible. So those are a big addition on to focusing on your entrance and exit.
Yeah, you're giving a little mini seminar because a lot of people they get in habits, and so they've got the shadow stand, and they're going to work that in the morning, and they go the same route. I mean, at the end of the year season, they've got a rut. I mean, they've got a deer trail, their own trail, and the deer know
Right,
that. I mean,
right,
and everybody's told me, Nick Albany's, he's down in New Jersey. He says, and Dan Johnson, you have three sits in that stand to collect the mature buck. And we're just talking mature bucks here, folks.
right,
If you want to go out and shoot a doe, have at it. And I shoot
right,
does every single fall. And if to you a trophy buck is 2.5 years old, hey, I'm good with that. And then as things happen, you start hunting mature bucks. So you have to. I call it the stealth approach, and you have to have multiple approaches to your stand for the win. Basically
right,
for the win. And then where you're hunting, you got thermals, not like we have out west, but you do have thermals. And the cool air is dropping in the morning and at night, and then it's reversing as things heat up. So there's a lot of things that we could spend a whole hour just talking about. The stealth approach to the stand, but that's my 2 cents on that. And so let's go back. Okay, you mentioned something about trail cameras that your dad, I think, is spot on. A lot of people go, "Oh, I got this trail camera and I'm feeding, and the deer are coming in." Okay, but if you don't have a series of pictures with that buck at 4:15 in the morning or at 10 o'clock at night, continually, because you want to do a census, in my opinion, of what's in the
right.
area. So let's talk about trail camera use a little bit.
Well, I'm fortunate to be, partnered up with a great company, Spy Point, where they have trail cameras that have Wi-Fi. So they send the text messages to your phone. For my friends that are outfitters, they put out the trail cameras. They don't have to waste gas going out 3 miles and wasting their time. They could just get their pictures sent right to their phone and their email, which is good for them, and it's good for us. I like to use it simply because I'm not leaving, like we just talked about, scent behind. I'm not disturbing the area. And that's the other thing, like you said, you're going into your trail camera a week before the season, and you might have that buck in there at 4:30 or 5:30, right before date or right before nighttime. And you might be having them in there, but if you go in there and check that camera now and you're sent, it might be a windy day or whatever the case may be. I like to go in and check. If I do check a trail camera, it's right before it rains because that rain will come down and wash my scent away, which is good. But if you go in there and check that camera a week before the season, we all know we get excited to check. Oh, the season's coming. We're going to check that camera. We're going to see what mature buck is in the area. You go in there, that wind's blowing your scent into whatever way it's going. Your scent is traveling through the woods. And if you had whatever mineral in your state, you have mineral to get the deer in front of your camera, whatever the case may be, whether or not it's just the camera on a trail, you're leaving scent behind and you don't even realize it. And that wind is carrying your scent. So those little things go far away with, trail cameras. I like to leave my trail cameras in for a whole month before the season. And hopefully, I have a mature buck on there, but I like to put them on natural trails because food source, one, mature bucks know if a food source was put in there and they're not dumb. If you realize, oh, I have 30 pictures of this mature buck, he's a 10 pointer. Okay, if they're all at night, he's not dumb. He knows he's going there at night to get to that food only at night. He's not going to go there in daytime. The only good thing that you're getting out of that is you're seeing where he's coming from, where he's coming into that food from. But those mature bucks circle 4 times sometimes before they even go into the food. And you'll notice the does go into it before he does, or the spikes or the smaller bucks. And all of a sudden you keep scanning through those pictures, boom, now he pops up. He's allowing them to circulate the area to let him know it's basically safe, and you really don't know which way he's coming into. You just know he's in the area. You know he's fairly close. But those bucks travel a lot at nighttime. So I like to put my trail cameras on trails, actual trails and pinch points, areas that I've seen rubs from before, or social points where they have a licking branch, and stuff in areas like that, because then you're getting an organic view on their pattern and their traveling. You're not getting it because there's incentive there. There's not a food source there. You're getting it because that's where they're actually traveling. And if you catch them on their natural traveling pattern, now you have a real opportunity on a mature buck. Now you know inside information on what he likes to do naturally without knowing there's food there. So if you have that, you have your success rate is going up big time.
Hey, folks, I want to just take a second here, a couple of minutes. And Patrick, how does somebody reach out to you on social media or get a hold of you? We're going to segue now into Bowhunter Brotherhood, but how do people reach you?
You can reach us on our website, bowhunterbrotherhood.com. We're on Instagram, our biggest social media following, and it's very easy for us to respond to everybody is on Instagram, Bowhunter Brotherhood. Also Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. We have our YouTube channel, which we do tips. We film our hunts. We show our experiences through the lens and organically, whether we fail or we succeed. So we have a lot of good information, and we shoot 3D and competition. So YouTube's a good way to get a hold of us. And then also you could email us through our website. So we're definitely on top of responding to our following and our fans and our friends. And we keep it real. We don't just support products because we use it. We support a product because if we say, hey, this bow really works, or this broadhead really works, and you go and buy it and you have a bad experience with it, then you look at us like, oh, they sold me a product that didn't really work. Our credibility goes down. So whatever we promote and use, we try to use the best product we can because we don't want you guys to have a bad taste in your mouth when you think of Bowhunter Brotherhood. So we like to keep it honest and organic to you guys, and basically like if we're a family, just like the name says, Bowhunter Brotherhood.
And I'm going to give a shout out, Kenny Maynard down in Kentucky, a good friend of mine, been on the show, and he's the one that said referred me to you, Patrick. And so, hey, Kenny, thanks a lot for the referral.
And Kenny, thank you for introducing me to Bruce.
So let's segue into Bowhunter Brotherhood and spend a few minutes on letting people know what it is, why you started, and where it's going.
Well, Bowhunter Brotherhood. I just got back from playing pro ball in Spain, and I just I had a year off. I was coming off an injury, and I got big into hunting. I was like, I had not, I was too embarrassed to go out in public because all the people I would see were like, "Aren't you supposed to be playing professional soccer in Spain?" And I was really just embarrassed to respond to that answer. So what did I do? I went and hid out in the woods for 12 hours a day. So I just dove back into my solitude. It was, bow hunting was my therapy. So I was figuring out a lot about myself by sitting in the stand and figuring out what I needed to think about. I needed my alone time. So I got into just really thinking, and I was like, there's nothing where I could really wear or represent bow hunting, something I truly love, without being judged for a redneck or a hillbilly. Not saying I don't have hillbilly or redneck friends that I love, but I'm not one. So I wanted to be able to represent bow hunting with my own style and swag, with a little bit of New York fashion in it. So it's a streetwear brand where you can represent what you love to do every day without having, your typical camo on, and you could wear something without camo and be a bow hunter. You could see me dressed up in a suit one day, and then the next day you could be see me dressed up in a soccer uniform, and then the next day you could see me dressed up in all camo with a bow coming out with face paint. So I wanted to build a brand that we could all wear and basically represent what we love in a cause without being judged for somebody holding a beer in his hand. We're bow hunters are more than just that, and it's God's creation and it's God's doing, and everybody does it. It's not just one trade. So I wanted to make the brotherhood for my brothers that love to bow hunt.
So if I hear you correctly, basically you started as an apparel company. Is that basically how you started?
Yep, that's what the beginning was. It transitioned into a lot more than that.
Well, let's talk about a lot more than that. So we got this apparel company, and I've got my Realtree on, and that's kind of my uniform and my whitetail rod and my own swag I'm wearing. But let's talk about, okay, you got an apparel company, but how did it morph into what it is today?
It just it naturally took its own path. It's really, now that I'm thinking back on it, I got a little goosebumps just thinking back on it. It grabbed traction. I came out of the woods. I was like, you know what? I'm going to start up my own thing. and I'm gonna start up my own brand. And I was thinking about a name. I was with my best friend Ray, and we're just after a hunt. He was my hunting buddy. I was like, I'm gonna name it Bowhunter Brotherhood. And it took me a good hour or two. I'm really creative coming up with stuff like that. And it went into the lifestyle brand, but then I wanted to get into filming my own hunts. I was watching YouTube channels, and then it turned into the whole media production end where we were not only just a hunting community, we were also a team where we have guys from Pennsylvania, Iowa, Louisiana, Michigan, very highly populated hunting states where we all found Bowhunter Brotherhood. They found Bowhunter Brotherhood and want to become a pro staff in a sense, which I hate throwing that term around, but I like to see them as a brother where we love hunting and filming it and sharing our experience through the lens. Where we went from filming hunts with low end media production cameras to knowing that we have to up our game and do higher quality stuff if we wanted to get sponsorships. We wanted to make this a living, and we are starting to obviously grow very quick and rapidly. So we really put the money in. We invested it within ourselves. We invested within the company, and it went from a lifestyle brand into a media production brand and company. So now we're sponsored by companies. Now we're starting to really gain some traction in a sense where we can make this possibly, hopefully, one day make this our everyday life and our everyday job. And that's the ultimate dream, to do something you love every day. So that's what it turned into. It turned into a media production company.
Let's talk about your pro staff or field staff. And I don't know how Kenny got a hold of you, so let's just use him our model, our white paper, if you will. And so, how did Kenny get a hold of you, and what's the steps through your process to finally become pro staff?
Well, the first thing beyond anything is having a great attitude. And Kenny is that beyond everything. Like, to have somebody, and that goes back to even soccer. You want somebody that's not going to be a cancer to your team. You want somebody that's going to make your team better. Kenny is that. So Kenny becoming a part of the field staff, and he's just a pleasure to have around. His attitude, his personality, how productive he is. Social media posts and stuff like that. He's always representing BHB, and he's just always inspiring others within the team. I don't handle at this point. I used to handle all the recruitment, but now the company has grown to a spot where I have my brother step in, where he handles most of the emails and stuff like that I can't just get to every day. As you could see, it was quite a bit just to get us on the podcast. I'm running around everywhere. So it's not easy ones. It's a good thing that the company's growing. You got to bring in extra hands. And Kenny reached out, and he reached out to us, I think on Instagram, I think it was. And my brother is very good into social media. He handles all the social media and for BHB now. And he said, "Listen, Pat, we got this guy. He's a vet, and he's just has a really good attitude. He really wants to be a part of us. He can't pull back a bow, but he shoots a crossbow due to a military injury. And I think it'd be a really good thing to give this guy an opportunity." I'm like, say no more. All I had to hear was, one, that he has a good attitude. Two, he's a vet. Those guys are there for us. They did this for us. These guys are battling on the other side of the world for us to do what we do every day in bow hunt. I don't even need to, whatever he wants. Let's take care of him. And it turned into something more. What I like to tell everybody at BHEB is, what you put in is what you get out. He puts in 20 times more than what we expected. He's going to get that. So, the guy is not looking for handouts. And that's the other thing. Everybody in the hunting industry, they're all like this. I have 20,000 followers. Can I have? Kenny's not doing that. He's like, what can I do? What work can I do? What work can I put in and help you guys to be a part of what you guys are doing? Because we love what he said it. He loves what Bowhunter Brotherhood stands for. And that's what we wanted, to build a brand that is not about me. I don't care if you buy my hat or my shirt. I don't want that. I didn't make it for that. I want it so he could wear that shirt and he could represent something like how we represent our flag for a national anthem. It's what it stands for. The brand is just a logo. but what is the meaning behind the logo is what matters the most, and it's the brotherhood. The bow hunter is just what we like to do. The brotherhood is that camaraderie that we get to share, just like me and Kenny do now. So that guy is just a pleasure to have around, and I wish there was more like him.
Me too. We've come, he's been on the show a couple of times, and I talk to him once a week, and he and Courtney are just amazing, amazing people. So, what's it take being a pro staff? One, get all in, have a great attitude, and be willing to work. Everybody says, "Oh, Bruce, you get this podcast, Whitetail Rendezvous, yada yada yada," and you're all across North America. And I go, "Yeah, but are you going to work 6 hours a day? For 2 years?"
Right,
And
right.
that's where we're at right now. We just hit 140,000 downloads, and that's okay. It's good. It isn't where I want to be because we want to grow our brand, and there's some great things going to happen in the next 6 months that are going to do that. But when you take it all together, folks, listeners, take away from what Patrick says. You gotta be one passionate about it. You got to keep your attitude. When you're having a bad day, keep it to yourself. And wear a smile. I think that's fair to say. And then go to work. Any comments on that, Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we all have bad days. We all have this, but whether or not you allow it to affect others around you, if it's your problem, make it your problem. Don't make it other people's problems, and you just keep moving forward because tomorrow's another day. But having a great attitude and making people around you feel better is just a blessing, and not everybody can do it, but Kenny makes just watching his Instagram videos makes me laugh, and that laugh leads to me going into coaching my kids with a laughter attitude, and it just spreads love across the platform of your life. So that's just my 2 cents on that. I just love people with great attitudes. It's nothing better to see also a kid that's raised by somebody like that with a great attitude. So definitely. And Kenny's driving. We're for a total archery challenge this weekend. We're going to be out there in Seven Springs, Pennsylvania. He's driving 5 or 6 hours to come out there and meet us and shoot with us and film with us and have a good time and just enjoy what we love to do is just shoot a bow and shoot a stick and a string and enjoy the day. So that guy, I'm looking forward to meeting him officially in person this weekend. So I'm really pumped for that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that day also. And I put in for Kentucky elk tag, and I didn't draw it, so I'm gonna have to find another excuse to head to Kentucky.
There you go.
That's
There
for
you go.
dang sure. So let's switch it up a little bit, and we've covered some of the hunting, but you got a bucket list hunt coming up. Why don't you share with the listeners about what that's all about?
Well, this year I'm quite busy, so I had to book all my hunts for 2018. So this year we're doing bow fishing in the middle of June, this month coming up. And then after that, it's going to be all whitetail. I'll be in Missouri with Pro Outfitters in the middle of November, rut, the 7th to the 11th, I think I'll be there. And some good people are there as well. We had Luke Pines, bass player there. We have some cool guys that we get to kick it with, which is just awesome people. And then next year, which I'm really excited for, I'm heading to Newfoundland for moose and bear with my best friend, one of my best friends, Chris Abrahamson. We're going to share that hunt together. And then my ultimate dream hunt, I was very fortunate at the Harrisburg Trade Show to meet an outfitter in Spain. And my family's from Spain. I mentioned that earlier in the show. I played professional soccer in Spain. I should have, when I went to Spain to play professional soccer, I didn't know they had big game animals to hunt. I really was uneducated about the what type of hunting was in Spain. So I found out that there was ibex there, which is basically the Spanish ibex is a Spanish ram slash goat. So they're not easy to hunt. And I was very fortunate to meet these guys from Barcelona that they had a booth at the trade show in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and they said, "Listen, you guys are a media production company. You guys do really good stuff." I was very fortunate that they gave me a killer deal to go out there and hunt and do my ultimate dream hunt to shoot an animal. It's not even the shoot. It's more if I come up empty-handed, I'm coming home with a smile, man. I don't even care. But to hunt an ibex, which now that success rate is not very high, it's very demanding on your body. You're talking about an animal that scales a mountain ridge, like not a mountain ridge. It's like the cliffs. They're basically climbing the mountain. And those animals are not easy to hunt. And I'm getting a chance to hunt them in the middle of April 2018 with Chris once again. My man, that guy just he don't care. He loves it just like I do. And to shoot an animal where my family's from, and to hunt an animal there, and to experience the mountain range and see the views and the stars, and to camp out and do all that experience. That's what I live for. Is just to be surrounded by good people and a great experience. So the ibex is I'm very fortunate to do it at 26 too. A lot of people in the hunting world wait a long time to do a dream hunt, and I'm very fortunate to do it this early on in my life. So that's my go-to for 2018, and I'm excited for it.
And you're using a bow. I'm thinking that you're using a bow on the ibex hunt. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't. It's hard for me to pick up the gun anymore. I just fell in love with archery. Just even just shooting target. I love pulling back a bow, falling into anchor, and visualizing the shot and releasing that arrow. There's something spiritual there for me. I was raised a gun hunter, but once I picked up a bow, that was it. My dad's like, "Yeah, we're meat hunters. We don't hunt to for media production and stuff like that. We hunt to fill up the freezer and feed the family." And he's like, "Oh, you passed up on that small 8-pointer." He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Dad." He's like, "Pick up the gun." He's like, "He's out of bow range." Or I'm like, "Dad, it's not what I do anymore. It's just not. I hunt for the meat first. I always do, and I always will, because that's how I was raised. And I will put meat in the freezer, like you said. Every fall, you put a doe in. You always take down a doe. I tag out every season. My family loves venison. I love barbecuing venison, especially the summer's coming. Those venison hot dogs are going to go quick. So, but that's what it is. I don't pick up the gun anymore. I clean my guns, but I don't pick them up really unless we're doing skeet shooting. I barely even do that anymore. Small game, I'll go with my dad, but the bow is where I'm at, where I stay. I mean, I have 3 bows laying on my couch right over here. It's what I love to do. So that's where I stay.
Yeah, and in the background, I don't know if you can see it. I hunt with a crossbow. I've got my shoulder pinned, and so I hunt with a crossbow because I can't pull back a compound, and I always shot
Right.
fingers. I never shot a release, and so I'm like Kenny. I shoot a crossbow now, but it really doesn't matter. My 2 cents on the whole thing is it doesn't matter. Just get out there and enjoy it. You touched
Exactly.
about a lot of things. I know last fall I spent 22 months and 22 weeks, pardon me, days, 22 days in the
Right.
mountains. Sorry about that, folks. About 10,000 feet hunting sheep. And I saw a lot of sheep. I never closed the deal. But I came off that mountain. I weighed about 212 pounds, haven't weighed that since college. And, just the experiences, the sunrise and sunset, the conversations. I mean, you can't, it's priceless. Yeah.
Right.
Do I wish I had closed the deal on a Rocky Mountain Ram? You bet. And
Right.
I look forward to my next opportunity. But having said that, I knew going in my odds sucked. No
Yeah.
question about it.
Yeah.
They really sucked. But you do it anyway. You do it anyway. And so, having said that, let's talk about in the last segment of the show here. And before we get into that, I want to give a shout out to Wilderness Athlete and Fit the Hunt. Jesse Paulson over Wilderness Athlete has helped me on my 28-day challenge. After my shoulder, I kind of felt sorry for myself and went into a slump, didn't work out at the gym. And so I needed a restart. And Wilderness Athlete with Jesse Paulson has done that, along with Jeremy Kerber from Fit the Hunt, and they've combined to put the right nutrition and the right workouts out for me. So, folks, check them out on the web, and there you go, guys. There's your shout out. So let's transition now into what we can do. You and I and all the listeners can do to get new blood into the outdoors, into bow hunting, into tree stands.
Well, being in New York, you don't know what you're going to get at any social event. You can get people that hate hunting, or you could get people that are like, "Oh, it sounds pretty intriguing. I kind of tell me about it." They have open ears, so you really don't know what you're going to get each time you go into a social event. So I love feeling people out in the sense of what they think about bow hunting and what's their views on it, or hunting in general, not even just bow hunting. And I love, for example, I did a wedding for my girlfriend. I filmed, since I do media production for Bowhunter Brotherhood. She wanted me to do a promo video for her, do an exclusive wedding in Mexico, and So we went to Mexico and I met some people there, and they're like, "So what do you do? Do you do filming for a living and stuff like that?" And we got into Bowhunter Brotherhood conversation, and then they are like, "Well, I always wanted to bow hunt." I'm like, "Here's my card. Let me know." Most bow hunters would never do that. Most bow hunters are like, I'm not showing that person my spot. I'm not showing this person this, or they're very closed off. They are. And I understand why, because to get properties and to get places to hunt are very, especially in New York, are very competitive. You're talking about every 5 acre plot. I guarantee you there's a tree stand somewhere along the road or highways. I used to play a game, find a tree stand in the car. And, and that's how it is in New York. It's very competitive. The hunting population is huge, and there's not that many places to hunt in southern New York. So I tell people, listen, if you ever want to get into it, I'll tell you where you can take your course to get your licenses and everything. I'll introduce you on buying a bow and your equipment, what things to buy, and I will introduce you to bow hunting, and I will take you bow hunting, because I was fortunate to have my dad that showed me how to climb with a climber, or showed me how to hang a hang on stand, or show me how to hunt or make my own ground blind and do all those things. Those people that don't have that introduction don't get into bow hunting because there is no introduction. There's a big gap there. And the person that comes up with a business plan to set that up is going to do pretty well. It's just going to take a lot of money to make money in that, but there's a huge gap in that spectrum. So anybody that ever wants to get into it, I'm ready to introduce them and bring them into my tree stand, and I'll sit with the camera and I'll film them, because nothing makes me feel better that I just got somebody to bow hunt and to love what I love and to see how it is to love bow hunting. And I love their reaction of success on their first. There's no better, and there's no filter on that reaction of them. My girlfriend's cousin, DJ, he hunted 10 years or 12 years with my girlfriend's uncle. And he's like, I never even seen a deer in that 12 years. He goes, Pat, hunting with you, I see 5 to 6 deer every time I sit down. And he goes, his first, we have it on film, and his first kill, his reaction was just so organic, and he was just so ecstatic. Emotions, like sad emotion that he just harvested something, and excited and happiness emotion that he did it and he has the food to feed his family. It's just a beautiful thing. It really is. And I take, if that was my choice, whether to be the hunter or be the person filming somebody on their first hunt, I'll be behind the camera all day and guiding them. That's just who I am, and I love doing that.
So let's drill down on that, and listeners, you're hearing Patrick's heart about what he's doing, why he's doing that. And so let's give him three takeaways of what to do. And I heard different things about what you've done, but let's just share it and kind of nail it down. So, what are three things that a person should do if they're approached by a person that's neutral? They're not anti-hunting at all. They're just neutral because nobody's ever told them about hunting. So, what do you suggest?
Listen, be open minded. You don't want to say, oh, bow hunting is, you have to bow hunt. They don't have to bow hunt. It's not for everybody. Listen, you're going into the woods and miles into with a success rate of probably 12% to shoot something, kill it, and gut it and butcher it. It's not for everybody. It's real work. So you have to respect their views on it. You just have to show them your view in the right light of saying, listen, this is why we're doing it, to feed our family. It's a circle of life in the most sense. It's population control. These animals are taking food sources from other animals, where those animals will end up starving. You know, you have to understand that you're doing a greater good beyond what they just understand. They think it's just killing. It's way more than killing, and it's way more than anything that they just get from the media or from reading Facebook posts about, these hunters killing lions in Africa. They don't understand that there was a $20,000 tag that went for that animal, to where that $20,000 goes to protecting those animals and conservation, and protects it from being poached all year round. And it goes to helping the greater good. That all that information gets left out. So when you meet somebody that's neutral, you have to be neutral. You just show your views and why you love to do it. Talk about the preparation, shooting your bow, how you love just shooting your bow. I tell people, listen, if you're not into hunting, doesn't mean you can't be into archery. You could love to shoot your bow and go in your backyard and shoot at a target. You could shoot a spot. You don't even have to shoot a fake animal. You could shoot a spot and you could love archery. So I even go into that you don't even have to kill anything to fall in love with the sport. So that's where I stand every time I get into a conversation with somebody that's neutral.
And thanks for that. And we're at the point of the show that you're going to have the opportunity to get some shout outs. I know you got a huge pro staff and field staff, so we you can't name everybody, but some of the main guys and gals, and then your sponsors, because they're helping you grow, and I want to help support that.
Right. Well, I would love to just shout out Kenny Maynard off the start. Everybody that's part of BHB and military background, thank you guys first off for putting your life on the line. You can't compare it to that. Thank you for everything you guys do for us. And Locke Wheeler, Gio, Aaron, Dilks, all you guys, pro staff, thank you guys for everything you do. And then sponsors, man, they hold us down. Tribe Archery, Apple, Spy Point, Scree Gear. I'm wearing their shirt. I'll throw that up in there for them. They're all great people, and I'm surrounded by great sponsors and Apple and all them. It's just Toxic Broadheads, Flying Arrow. It's more than just a sponsorship. They're products that they definitely make our hunts a lot easier, but they're great people behind those doors of their brand and their products. So that's what I love. On top of that, it's just being partnered up with great people. And I'm very fortunate to be where I'm at with Bowhunter Brotherhood and be partnered up with great people on top of that. And I got to sit down here and share a great conversation with you, Bruce, and thank you for having me. And it's been a pleasure.
Well, on behalf of thousands of listeners across North America, and then a lot of veterans, a lot of servicemen listen to our show, because I go every once in a while and go, why is somebody listening to our show in the desert, across the pond? And it just amazes me. So, hey, shout out to all the vets out there, and appreciate your service. But Patrick, thank you so much for starting Bowhunter Brotherhood, because it's more than, like you said, the apparel company. That was the beginning, and now you're really touching people's lives. And Kenny Maynard is one of those guys, and he'll always be part of my life. So on behalf of Kenny and all my friends at Whitetail Rendezvous, thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
On the next episode, we're heading out to Pennsylvania, and we're going to connect with Jason Mears. Now, Jason is part of the Sitka Gear Whitetail Ambassador Program. More than that, though, he's been hunting whitetails for over 25 years. And he had a company that was in deer attractants. He sold that. And he just loves to hunt whitetails, spends his time chasing whitetails, thinking about whitetails, and learning about whitetails. Jason Mears coming up next.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.